All right, guys, we're here with our lovely patient, Danielle. Her champagne brows procedure was a little over 5 months ago. So she's starting to get growth, but certainly not completely done. Usually best results are at about 6 to 8 months. So she's still growing in, but she's agreed to let me show you guys how best to trim the brows. Because the hair is taken from the back of the head, it's going to grow that way forever. It does give you a three-dimensional look, but you have to maintain them by trimming once, twice a week, depending on how fast your hair naturally grows. Now, Danielle, I think you said, how often are you trimming your brows?
Every 4 to 5 days, so
Right.
once a week, maybe.
Okay, and that's about average, okay? Most people once, twice a week. What I recommend doing, and this is to show all of my patients and potential patients how to maintain the brows, and this works best. You use a little brow gel to help hold the hairs up. So you're going to start by gelling the brows, especially in the middle here. When I transplant the brows, the goal is to have these hairs grow in the upward direction. And then it starts to transition. So you're going to gel them upward like this. And I had asked Danielle to come in without having trimmed her brows for the last few days. So they're a little longer, and that'll give us the opportunity to show you how to trim them. So now you can see how long some of these will grow in a few days. And you can keep them like this. And there are different types of scissors. There are specific eyebrow scissors that are made. Some are curved like these. Some have a better curvature to the actual pair of scissors, so if you're trimming yourself, it might be easier to trim with that curvature as you make that turn. I like to use a combination of both. So what I recommend doing is, if you have the ability to do two hands, you can take a spoolie and hold these hairs up, and in the middle here, what you want to do is you want to find where the top of your natural brow hair has been transplanted. And for her, that's going to be about right here, okay? So if I were to brush this down, you would see where those hairs are and making that transition. So you could even do this when you're trimming. Brush these up, leave these brushed down, so you can see where you're going to trim the height. And that is going to be about right here. So you'll trim these. Like so. And again, you can adjust the height of these. If you want your brows to be a little longer, you can trim them a little longer at the top here so that they stand up a little taller. And just take your time. Okay, so you can see that these are starting to be trimmed to the proper height. And then you can also, if you want to get really creative, you can trim a few of them at different heights in the front right here. So if I were to do it, we come down from the top, and this may be difficult. And again, there are professionals that do this too, who trim brows. So you can come down and you can trim a few of them at different angles to give a little change in height for some of them, and that'll give you a more natural look, okay? So we'll brush those up. And then as we come across, you can gel these up like this. And what you want to do is you want to think about taking about maybe half of the brow hairs and brush those up, and then the bottom half will brush down, okay? So the top half you'll brush up, and because those hairs at the very top are also a part of this, you don't want to trim those too short. So you don't want to trim right at the top of your brows because the top couple rows of hair are going to be a little too short. So what I recommend doing is trimming these hairs up above, about 2 millimeters or so above the top. And that's about here. Okay, so now you've trimmed these, and that way the top row is not too short. And then the same thing goes with the tail. Take the top half, keep a couple millimeters above the top of where the tail is going to transition down, and trim those. Okay. And then you do the same for the bottom. Bottom half, brush it down, leave yourself several millimeters below the bottom line, which is here for her. So you're going to trim down here. And then when you brush those back in, they're going to give you a very nice natural look. Okay, so that flow in the middle again is growing up like this, and then these are going to transition toward the side. And by leaving these top ones a little longer, they don't look like they're unnatural and too short. You want them to look as natural as possible. Plus, leaving the middle of the brow a little longer gives you a little more coverage. So now she has a nice natural looking eyebrow. And now keep in mind, guys, too, this is for a little more maintained brow height and shape, but if you like the feathered brow look, a little bit bushier or fuller brow, you can certainly, like I said here, you can trim these a little taller, and then you can brush these up all in the upward direction. And remember, these were transplanted, so these, you can brush these up just like your natural eyebrow hairs, brush them up and leave them in this upward direction, and that'll give you a fuller brow.